Welcome back to Momentum Academy. In this session, we're moving into our user interface or UI theory section, and we'll look at setting the mood of our app. This lesson is part of the Momentum Academy Bubble.io bootcamp, where we're learning how to design and build user-centered apps from the ground up. You can find more lessons by subscribing or following the link to the playlist below. How do we set the feeling of our site? How do we set the mood? What kind of process would we use to achieve this? First of all, there are some great sites on the internet that show portfolio pieces from different designers. These are created by people who are either professional designers or working toward becoming professional designers. Examples include sites like Dribbble and Behance. You can search for those, just note Dribbble has 3 Bs. When you visit these sites, you can explore design work across many disciplines. You will find graphic design, publications, websites, web applications, mobile applications, and almost anything you can think of. There are people producing UI design, product design, and related work. Behance is the same. You can look at what other people are doing, look at what is currently in vogue, what you personally like, and what similar products to the one you are building are doing in terms of visual design. After looking at similar products, we can create a mood board that shows the things we like side by side, and we can create a design critique. This means identifying things we like and documenting them, and also identifying things we do not like and documenting those as well. Part of this process is thinking about positives and negatives from a user experience and user interface perspective. Good user experience and user interface design is transparent. It does not get in the way of navigation or finding the thing you are looking for. It enhances the experience by not being noticeable. Negative elements are very noticeable. They tend to stand out. One of the biggest issues with sites like this, and something you can critique easily, is when the design is trying to be too cool. Designs that try too hard often lose user experience value because they make the interface harder to navigate. They decrease accessibility and they date faster. Something that looks trendy this year can look dated next year, and you will feel like you need to start again. By using a process of mood boarding and critiquing designs, we can start to shape the type of design we want to achieve. I completed a few searches on Dribbble and found several personal portfolio sites for designers that we can draw inspiration from for our assignment. Here is one from Peter Vegemans, who is a UX UI designer. I liked several things about this one. Notice the colours, the fonts, the spacing, the use of a photo, and the call to action buttons. Here is another one. This is a mock-up created by a designer for a software developer. There are elements in this design that I liked, and we will look at these in more detail in a moment. Here is a third design from another UX UI designer. This one is quite different. There is no photo, and the layout uses a more graphic approach. Again, notice the call to action button, the links, the spacing, the colours, and the fonts. Here is a fourth one that I found. I want to play a short video because you need to see this one in motion to understand it. This design fits into the cool category. However, I think the coolness detracts from the usability. All the movement, the zooming in and out, and the animation has gone too far. It is a design creative agency, and they are clearly trying to show off their design credentials, which makes sense for that audience. However, usability, accessibility, and intuitiveness suffer here. To create your mood board, start by installing a browser extension. In Chrome, I use an extension called Go Full Page. When you press the button, it takes a full screenshot of everything in the browser, even if it scrolls down several pages. You can then download it as a JPEG or PDF. Capture your examples and then bring them into a whiteboarding tool like FigJam or Lucidchart. Place them side by side and look at the different elements. Complete your design critique by noting what you like and what you do not like. Summarize your results and use these insights as you build your own site. Here are the 4 designs I chose. I have Max on the left, Fivers in the left middle, Adina in the right middle, and Chris on the right. These are all very different designs. They have different styles, different moods, and different elements on each page. As I went through them, I added green dots for things I liked and red dots for things I did not like. Let me walk you through my thoughts. I liked the introduction in the first design. Hey, I am Max, a product designer who codes. It is short and explains clearly who he is. There is a smaller subheading as well. I liked the call to action, which is send email, and it uses a strong primary button. When you squint at the page, that button stands out immediately, which helps guide the user. I also like the case studies. They are prominent, each with a graphic, a clean layout, some tags, a heading, and a short paragraph. You can click into each project. I liked that he introduces himself and then immediately showcases the quality of his work. I was not a fan of the tan colour he uses. That is personal preference, but it did not appeal to me. His skills section is clear, the expanded bio is good, and the call to action at the bottom is strong, using the same dark colour. Overall, the design is clean and succinct. It communicates who he is, highlights his work, and presents a clear action. The only negative was that beige tone. The second design in the left middle is very different. It is minimalist and uses a white background, which I liked. The navigation menu at the top is clear. It includes his name, his role as a designer and developer, and options such as projects and information. One thing I noticed is that he uses a long paragraph at the start and leaves a large area of empty space. In the paragraph, he explains that he focuses on minimal designs that are highly usable, which fits the layout. However, the spacing feels too empty at first glance. As you scroll down, he presents the list of projects he has worked on and the roles he played. I like this section a lot. The images are strong, the summaries are clear, and the headings and introductory text follow a pattern that feels consistent. The call to action is less obvious here, which I was unsure about. Now to the third option in the right middle. I like the logo in this one. It is creative and memorable. The navigation is easy to understand. The introduction is short, with a good summary below it that contains a bit more detail. It is not too long and feels balanced. The featured work section includes 6 projects with different styles of imagery. One is flat, one is shown on a laptop, one uses 3D, one is on a mobile phone. This gives a sense of versatility. I did not love the gradient overlay used here, although I did not strongly dislike it either. The call to action is clear and uses a form, which is an interesting approach. The footer is clean with links to socials, a back to top button, and copyright details. Overall, this has great usability and a strong user experience. The fourth design is one that I personally did not like as much. That is partly personal preference, but there are usability issues as well. There is a lot of copy at the top, all using the same font weight. You do not know where to look. The copy itself is quirky, which may or may not work depending on the audience. The black background felt very strong and gave the impression of something suited to video games or high-tech agencies rather than a personal portfolio. The project tiles were a strength. They highlight the designer's versatility. However, the call to action at the bottom is not prominent. There is also a link to a different skill set, which adds more complexity. I did not like the combination of photos and illustrations. Mixing the two styles created inconsistency, whereas the other portfolios kept a clearer visual language. To summarise my findings across these designs, I liked white backgrounds, clean and simple layouts, some bold colours, short and clear hero headings and subheadings, clear navigation menus, prominent case studies, and the use of white and grey boxes to break up the sections. I liked designs that included a photo of the person because it creates a quick emotional connection. I liked clear calls to action using strong primary buttons. I liked footers that made the site feel complete and linked to social profiles or portfolio work. What I did not like was overly graphic design driven layouts that get in the way of the message, too much white space, too much copy without hierarchy, unclear calls to action, gradient overlays, mixed photos and illustrations, distracting animations, and low contrast ratios that make reading difficult. At this point, we have defined the mood by looking at designs in the real world, identifying strengths and weaknesses, and summarising our notes. When I created my own portfolio, the words I came up with were techie, clean, and bold. You might choose words like traditional, soft, or muted, depending on the brand you want to communicate. The key is consistency with your message. A bubble developer building innovative tech products will choose a different mood compared to an organic food store or a wellness brand. I also felt that white backgrounds create a more corporate and clean impression. Bold colours like purples and blues convey trust and authority. I preferred the use of photos over SVG illustrations, which are very common right now. That is our session on defining the mood. For your personal landing page, I recommend creating a mood board. Use a FigJam file or any whiteboarding tool you prefer. Find 4 or 5 portfolio sites you like and repeat this process with your own notes. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next lesson on picking fonts.